And we are live to dive in. Welcome
Oh
back
my goodness.
again, Nicole. It's good to have you back to talk about Svengoolie, to talk about Tiki, to talk about Barbie, to talk about life, to talk about Psycho Susie, to talk about all the things. Welcome back again.
All the things. And it kicks off our big double feature this week at First Svengoolie. So I feel like it's perfect.
We're but the humble opening act for the bonanza of the double features on the Me TV station. So this is I'm going to have to put this on 2 playlists or 3 playlists. I'm going to have a Nicole playlist. It's going to go on the artist playlist and it's going to go on the Svenology playlist because we're here to have a good time with all these different topics. So let me first comments. Michaela, the young artist in her own right. Welcome aboard,
Good
Michaela.
evening.
And Boy Cantina representing the good old Let's Go. And we are assuredly here to go.
I love it.
All right. As we were discussing beforehand via the email format, what to go for? Do we speak on Tiki first? Do we speak on Sven first? Flip of the coin lands on Sven. So,
I like it.
as you were not a native Chicagoan in your youth, such is the case that it had to be that until Me TV went national with Svengoolie. The show was not readily available to you. So, roughly what time did you start to become a viewer of the Svengoolie program?
You know what's funny is this was the topic of conversation yesterday. And because I couldn't quite remember, my best answer is that when it went national and suddenly he was available on Me TV, me and my husband stumbled across it because it had everything that we love, the movies, the shtick, the history with the movies, and the facts. So it kind of hit all those things that we already really liked, and it was somewhat reminiscent of USA's Up All Night, which both of us really liked watching. And so we just started watching it. That being said, I can't remember the first movie. I think because we just sort of went all in,
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't remember the first one, but it was really early on when it, when we were able to get it in the Twin Cities. I think that was, in the early like 2010 era,
Right
I
about
think.
there. That should be it
Mm-hmm.
out there. So you can't remember which movie. I can't remember which was my first Sven movie either. How about, was there a particular song parody or comedy bit or supporting cast character that, as you said, you enjoy the shtick? Was there one of those things that contributed to the shtick in a way that endeared you to the show?
I really like the musical elements. I think that is so unique to Sven, and they're funny, and it kind of throws you through a loop. So I think the music and then Kerwin really, I don't know, that's what, out of the non-movie elements, I think those are the things that really stuck with me and got me hooked.
Now, another segment in addition, we got another comment. I used to be scared of Svengoolie as a kid. Well, gee, yes. Thank you. Thank you for being transparent, as they say, about as transparent as a griffin, as an invisible man, as an invisible person. Thank you, G, for dropping in a comment as such. Let me even here. Let me shift. Oh, let me go. No, okay, here. There we go. There we go. There we go. Okay, so where was I going? Was okay. Favorite. So clearly, in the other segment, in the male segment, and we'll come to this, your Barbie and creature photo was featured. Your Barbie and Godzilla photo was featured. And well, I guess let's jump out of order. The traditional questions and just speak on that. So we did talk about this previously when Fanboy G was in here on the screen in the conversation with us. What was it like to be they say the repeat host on Saturday Night Live, get the little jacket or what have you. What was it like to be second time featured on Sven for Godzilla versus Barbie?
That was completely unexpected, I'll be honest, because, I had sent in the Barbie with the creature from the Black Lagoon one, and not even anticipating getting shown, because I'm sure he gets bombarded with amazing art and letters and pictures. So, it's just one of those things. I sent it in. I didn't have the highest hopes, but then you and I met, and you were just such an advocate. And you really, honestly, without you, I wouldn't have been shown, and I'm forever grateful for that. And after he showed it, I'm like, you know what? I want to send a thank you, because it's such a big deal. It was just so special, and I just really appreciated it. So I was like, you know what? I had recently finished my Godzilla piece, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just send him this photo with a thank you, just saying, how much it meant to me, not anticipating it being on the show, because, I was lucky enough to already be on. And so I wasn't even looking for it at all, not even expecting it, sent the picture, sent the note. And I was actually at a fundraiser, like gala, and I wasn't watching the show live. I was recording it on the Friendly app, and all of a sudden my phone starts going off. They're like, "Oh my gosh, they just showed your picture on Svengoolie." And I was so thankful that I had downloaded that Friendly app to record it, because I try to watch, the show live, but it was this big fundraiser that I had to go to, or that I got to go to. And so I was completely blown away. And of course, the second I got home, it didn't matter how late it was. I was going to watch it. Yeah, I was super, super honored. It was a real surprise.
As you're mentioning the Friendly app, I remember you were the first person that I heard of that app from, and since then we have acquired, installed, are making use of the Friendly app.
Excellent.
I don't feel I'm an expert in it by any means as yet, but as you already answered the question, but if we could maybe fill in a little bit more. So on that specific night, you're out at an event, and it allows you to record and then watch later that same night, or watch up to however many hours or days afterwards. Are there other advantages to the Friendly app?
Yeah, well, I specifically got it for Svengoolie because especially during art fair season, I'm not always home in time to catch right when the program was starting. And so I was missing part of it. And, we look forward to it all week. So it was just, I think it's only like $10 or something, but it allows you to, this whole arsenal of channels, not just MeTV. And then you can set it up to record, continue. Like I always have it set up to record Svengoolie, even if I'm not going to miss it, because I might want to watch it again. Or even if like I start it late, like let's say I get in late, I can actually start the program from the beginning. So I tell you what, I think that I found out about it on the Svengoolie, like the fans of Svengoolie Facebook group. And I believe that's where I first heard about it. And it was just as good as people were saying. So
again, good to be part of the community via Facebook or Reddit or what have you. And I'll say that is the most frequently occurring question on the Svengoolie Reddit group is, I missed a show, or now I'm out. I was in market. Now I'm out of market. How can I get access to the show? So again, hopefully other people are able to connect to the show through Friendly. Michaela, our young artist in her own right, says thank you to Friendly TV for giving us an opportunity to record Svengoolie every time we're unable to watch live every week. Absolutely, Michaela, we're here to agree with all of that. Okay, so I know you've looked at multiple genres of things. You've attended the Hitchcock Festival local to you. Do you have a favorite movie that Sven has shown, or is it more a favorite tier of movies? What is spoken to you amongst the fare that is offered through the Sven show?
The nice thing is there's the variety, and I'll be honest, I'm of course a sucker for the Universal. I mean, how could you not, because I love, the creature, and there's just so much that he shows from that those are always delightful. And then honestly, anything with Vincent Price, like sign me up. Like, I love him. But then I love like sort of the random. One of my favorite recent ones that he showed was Killer Clowns from Outer Space. It's such a good like popcorn movie, and it's and it's not like a lot of the other ones. And then another top one for me, and like he's shown it a couple times, is The Car with James Brolin. I love that movie. And I liked it when I was a kid, and I couldn't remember much about it, but I just remember really liking it. And it wasn't one that you would stumble across a lot. And it was just the first time he showed it, I was like, no way, this is that movie from when I was a kid that I thought was so creepy. And, and it was just as delightful. So I love, and he's recently shown that, I think, within the last year or two. So
definitely a fanboy. Cantina Fanboy G jumping in with an ooh, and then Michaela cutting up, providing the comic relief. Tonight's episode brought to you by Friendly Store, who is not a paid spokesperson, nor and in the old days, Sven would have the fictitious Dewey Cheatham and Howe when he'd have the fake bits. So Michaela's neither working for Friendly nor for Dewey Cheatham and Howe. Okay, is there a favorite Universal monster that you have, or is that a tough call? Now, one might guess the creature of the Black Lagoon based on the amount of time you spend with the creature of the Black Lagoon. Could it be the creature? Could it be a different one?
It's the creature. He's my favorite. I think he's such a misunderstood monster, and no, he's definitely my favorite. And one of the things I love about him is I've always thought that, everybody knows, Frankenstein's monster, the mummy, and this and that. And so when I first did a photo with the creature, I was like, I hope people know who he is, and at art fairs where you have hundreds and hundreds, if not more per day, people walking by, I'm so pleasantly surprised with how pretty much everybody knows who he is. And like little kids will sit and talk to me about him, and there's something, it was just, there's like, I always know they're going to know, again, Frankenstein's monster, Dracula, this and that. But to have like a 8-year-old know who the creature from the Black Lagoon is and talk to you about Universal monsters is pretty exciting. So I'd say the creature.
Absolutely a good pick, and creature is well respected in these confines over here. I'll say this: the creature is as a starting the bridge now into the tiki material. The creature is absolutely the most tiki of the Universal Classic characters. I'm going to jump over to what's called the banners section within the stream business here. I mean the brand. I'm rusty at the wheel here, but so I won't be able to see the comments for a few seconds here, but let me come into again, just if people hadn't watched last time, or if it right. So this one is called Barbie Goals or Creature Goals Barbie, or
that one I call him Gilman Goals.
Gilman Goals. Yes.
So this is the newest of the creature from the Black Lagoon ones, and what I liked is, because he's so misunderstood. Like you watch the movies, like, oh no, we're the jerks. This guy's just trying to like live his life, and so I kind of like the idea of him and the lead character just enjoying floating around.
Right, just cruising around in a lazy river, right?
Exactly.
What he should have been doing had the Rita boat not sailed into his territory in the first place.
Exactly. And I liked, so with the, Barbie, the vintage Barbie, she's so stiff, and I don't get a lot of movement with her limbs, but that particular creature, figure, which is about the same size as Barbie, he's so articulated. Because I thought if I couldn't have him kind of holding hands, I thought that was like a nice touch. So I was happy that he was that articulated.
And this is a similar theme to as in your previous appearance over here. It was the same floats, but instead of Barbie and the creature, it was Ken and Ken, right? Yep. And so you explained the magic trick or the BTS, the behind the scenes of how you got the shadow to cast down, and you explained your process at the time. Plan A was to try to find a kiddie pool, but again, if somebody didn't happen to see our previous conversation, walk through the the learning curve that you had and to execute the image, including the shadows.
Absolutely. So, the first time I did the shoot, it was like you were saying, it was two Kens. It's basically the same composition. And I was like, oh yeah, this will be really fun. I'm going to get a kiddie pool that's blue. I'm going to fill it with water. I'm going to float them in there and I'll light it and photograph it from above. Like it made total sense in my mind. And then logistically completely didn't work at all. Like I actually filled up a kiddie pool in my studio. I had my step stool, I'm standing above it. I'm like trying, I lit it, but you couldn't get the good effect of the water. It was super boring. I'm like kicking the pool, trying to make wave. It was a huge pickle. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, now I have this pool filled with water in a studio. I have to somehow empty this. So it was one of those, I've never misjudged photographing anything as badly as that one. So, but then I thought about it and I'm like, you gotta approach it like any other studio shoot, and kind of create the sense of the scene, but it's still fake, you build it. So I had, I got a picture of the water, and the water with all the texture that I wanted it. And then I printed that on paper and I just laid it on the floor of the studio. And then what I did is, you can't just set the inner tubes right on the paper because it would look like, there'd be no depth to it. So then I have these clear kind of plastic glasses that I could put underneath the tubes, raising it up off of the paper. And then I'm able to, when I light it, it casts the shadow. So it looks like that shadow's hitting the base of the pool. So it gives the depth, even though, technically it's all smoke and mirrors. And so I did the same thing with this one because now, I learned my lesson.
Smoke and mirrors without the actual smoke, without the actual mirrors, but a characteristic evident in the actual Universal classic films themselves.
Exactly.
A blend of fantasy and realism. I don't know. The Uncanny Valley applies. I think we're far afield from the Uncanny Valley here, but this is some good stuff. That's fun to revisit. And again, your original creature work as was featured on. Now, let me also take a minute to say I appreciate but actually, the actual decision making came from Rich Coase himself and the crew. I didn't have any actual influence in this appearing, but for moral support. But again, as we said last time, you did a multi-step thing here. You get the backdrop, you get the sand, and the degree of detail, as we noted last time, to put the sand on the webbed foot of the creature just gives it such a great touch.
Thank you. I know the details are, that's the best part of the journey. It's like, you have the basic idea, the basic concept, and it's like, how do you get from just the concept to a finished piece? And it's all in the details, and how they come together and slowly building it, even with the setbacks with the water scene. It's like, but, how do I move past that, and like building that one, with the sand, it's like getting the right color sand and, what's the backdrop look like? And then how does the lighting mimic what the sun would look like to make it look like real life? And, and then I decided for the original one on the beach, like it was very intentional that she was wearing a white swimsuit because in the original movie, she's wearing that white swimsuit and she's a brunette. And, but I love that those are the little pieces that just, for me, makes it all so much more fun.
Absolutely. Embracing the concept of fun, no less. Fanboy, again, as when he was live with us in the previous conversation, so the diorama pieces add so much too. And then he goes again and say, yes, that's put a little stamp in the corner, not just as seen on TV, but as seen on Svengoolie. Maybe that's another selling point. We'll speak more on the Etsy and the specifics of how people can get your stuff. But Michaela, what an amazing art. She says the artist making her, you know what, Michaela? Hey, Michaela, spread your wings. Spread your wings, Michaela. Your drawings are dynamite as they are. You want to dabble in photo? Go ahead, have fun with it. Get creative with it.
Okay, absolutely.
Come back out of comments now that we caught up on comments and see where we're. Okay, so I guess let's go back to the very, very beginning and then come up to the most recent time. So again, let me pull the picture for a second. So there was a time. I meant to pull the exact year. Maybe I'll have to do that next time around. There was a time I'm looking for a good present for the wife. And I'm going around in the Etsy, and wife is a big fan of Barbie, and we share. And it's not that I'm not, but I would say she's the lead on that. And I was Googling around, and that's how I found this one here. So this was your first Barbie Tiki, or at least the first one I had encountered. And again, the
Yes.
details. So the do you still have these pieces that you have on display, and how do you store, or how do you preserve your materials?
That is a great question. So for this one, this is my first tiki piece, and it was a natural, sort of segue, thematically from some of the other Barbie stuff because it fits right in with the era. So for this one, actually, I found the bar part first, and it's actually not that big. So I can store that with all my other furniture bits that I have for Barbie. Like I have tons of stools and couches and that kind of thing, and I can kind of just stack those together. It's actually not that big. And then for the wall, it's actually just a sushi rolling mat. So it had the look, the tiki look that I wanted. But it's just a mat. So that too, I have a whole stack of those because I use them for some other things in shoots, and it's just on my shelf of goodies. And then like the shelf itself is just like a heavier, almost like a tongue depressor, but a little bit thicker. And then I just trimmed the edges off, and then I just attached it to the mat just for the shoot, up against the wall there, and then set all the little bottles and doodads. So it's sort of like a puzzle, putting all the little pieces in until I like it. And then when it's done, I just have like utility carts that I have little, containers in filled with like, the bottles and all those little doodads. Everything kind of comes down and then fits into my, like my shelving and Rubbermaids. So
I
nothing,
think
nothing too exciting, I suppose.
depending on one's point of view, but I mean, it remains an impressive piece to me. So the means by which you attach the shelf to the
Mhm.
sushi mat, was it glue, or was it some other?
I
Was it
use
some,
a lot of these like these they're like crafter like gooey dots that you can kind of ball up, and then it's non-permanent. And because a lot of the stuff doesn't weigh anything, and you just need it to hold in place long enough for the shoot. So like the artwork on the wall, it's just like these glue dots, and again, non-permanent glue dots. And same with that shelving, because those little bottles weigh nothing. And that's what keeps everything really modular, which means I get more bang for my buck when I buy accessories. Like I can use them numerous times. It just doesn't always become this. Otherwise it's like you're just stuck with huge structures, and there's
right.
only so much space.
The versatility, interchangeable feature,
Mhm,
though I could see why those would be important
mhm,
tools to have, or important arrows in the quiver. A
mhm,
couple more questions on this one, and then we'll jump up to the more current one. So that's a sailboat right there. It's
mhm.
got the backdrop colored, the picture within the picture. It's got a
Exactly.
really cool, like sunset kind of a way to it. Where did you find is it a pirate ship? Is it to be open to interpretation? Where did you find it, and what can you tell us about it?
So the actual artwork, I believe I'm not sure if it's a pirate ship. So there are a few vendors that I love that create accessories for things like Barbie or other dolls around that same size. And the lady that did that one had created a bunch of sort of mid-century modern artwork and then put them in little frames, and then you can scoop them up, and like I have a whole arsenal of art, like Barbie sized art that I can add into the dioramas. And she's the same lady that I actually found the bar from. She's on Etsy. She's called the Atomic Doll, and I follow her on Instagram, and she just does an amazing amount of accessories. And so a lot of times it's just picking and choosing. It's like, okay, which little piece of artwork will work for this scene? What's going to enhance it? And to me, it was very similar to artwork that I've seen in actual tiki bars. So I was like, this one is perfect. Some of them are too, you're not going to find like a, pastel. I don't know. That artwork spoke to me for a tiki bar scene.
As it speaks to me, and it speaks to other people who have landed this into their own collections. And again, mid-century modern, having a Venn diagram overlap with tiki, it's a good thing. And then the color working off of that chair in the backdrop, and that color, maybe like the in the 70s, which is a little bit past mid-century modern, a good amount past it, but people would often hang rugs on the wall as a decoration. Got that kind of feel. And then just the front of the bar is so complementary to the wall or the sushi mat. It all comes together in such a cool way. And so then when there's so much coolness going on, it's worth revisiting the subject matter. And here we are to your more current, your more recent release.
And that's the one that I have set up in back of me too. So and it was funny because after I did the original one, I had it in my mind to revisit it. And this happens. Like if I'm really excited about a piece and I had fun with it, sometimes I'll want to, explore it further. So I had this sort of concept of going a little bit more, all in with the tiki theme. A lot of times in my shoots, I think simple, like less is more, there's that line with how many accessories and doodads you add. And, you don't want it to just look cluttered. You want it to still have like that design element, like how do the colors play on each other and everything. So when I was revisiting it, I'm like, okay, I do want to go a little bit more, over the top. And I'd been sort of thinking about it for a while. And I actually contacted the lady that did the original bar in my first shoot. And I said, I'm thinking of doing an entire scene, like a little bit more elaborate, not just, what I had. And so we kind of went back and forth, and she does make these diorama boxes that people use for display. So they have the 3 walls, they, like a horseshoe, and doll collectors will buy them and use them for their personal displays. And so I was talking to her, I'm like, well, I really want to do a full tiki bar. But I don't want the one wall on it. I actually want it to just have 2 walls because it'll be easier for me to light it in the studio with just 2 walls. And so after going around with her for, discussing what I wanted, she made it for me, which was great. And then she sent over a bunch of different accessories with it. Like there's a bunch of tables with it, and just the sky was the limit. And so when I got it, it's like I got really excited to shoot it, but then it was almost too much. I didn't know, if like that's just a small fraction of what came with the whole set. So it took me a while to kind of rethink about how I wanted to approach it. Like use this new set, revisit the shoot, but then it's not just supposed to be a picture of stuff. It needs to make sense as an overall narrative and work, on the design element, like the colors and this and that. So, when I was starting to think about that, I took the original doll and I kind of thought it would be cool to have her a redhead, like just a full fire engine red. And it ties into the shirt that the one fellow was wearing, because I knew that I was going to have that red shirt in there too. So then I was like, okay, I need my doll to have different hair, and I had never rerooted a doll. So and the person that I've had done restoration work, she also didn't reroot dolls. So it took a little while, like months, for me to find somebody that specialized in like completely cutting out the hair and then rerooting it to the color I wanted. So I found this lady actually in Wisconsin, Tiny Ribbons, and she cut all of the hair out and rewrote it and then restyled it like the original doll in the exact color that I wanted. So, I'd waited a long time for the set, and then the doll took a long time to get, because I just didn't want to do it. I had it in my head. I wanted her a redhead. So it's like, I'm not going to just shoot her again as a brunette when I already have it in my head what I want. So it became kind of this waiting game too. And then when I got her the doll back, I wasn't fully set on what the narrative was. And it sat for months. I would sort of restart it and then come back to it. And it was one of those shoots that sometimes they don't go quickly. Sometimes they take what feels like forever. And then I move on to other shoots. And then I decided to strip it down. Like, I took a bunch of the stuff out of the set. I reduced it down to 3 dolls, and I just wanted to play on the kind of the narrative between the 3. And what I like is the Alan doll looks one way. He's actually looking towards Ken. Ken looks forward, and then Barbie's looking towards Ken. So it's like, to me, it becomes this interplay with the gaze. Gaze meaning, how you look. And then the color, and then still keeping the tiki theme. It started to come together, and then I was happy.
Well deserved to be happy. I echo Fanboy's comment of most impressive. Last time we used the term about tightening up the narrative, and then your story as you're telling it sounds so similar to what a musician, so I put this, and then it wasn't entirely gelling, but I had some of the elements, and then you just had time pass for either the right inspiration to strike, or a new experience to trigger a chain reaction of activity. And so good and good and good. Let me come back over to it now. And then which should we do this one? Okay. So let's say, so production challenge here for us, as has happened many a time when we're trying to have the what we'll sometimes known as the fan cam on the Fanboy Cantina channel, or the close-up camera. So we were getting the audio echo. We weren't able to resolve the audio echo, but so now we're just going to kind of slightly improvise, but we want to get a little bit more of a close-up on the actual.
What I'll do is I will scooch to the side, and I will roll this closer so you can actually see the sets.
Right. And then meanwhile, while you're doing that, let me buy some time here. So this new piece that we're looking at, so I had in the Reddit group, in the Reddit Tiki group, well, here I'm kind of backwards. Let me go to the first one first. So I posted the image in the Reddit Tiki group, and I didn't say anything, but I said just arrived, trying to create a little, and so whoever Evil Dead Mike, it was cool to play along. Evil Dead Mike is, forgive my ignorance, what is it? It looks awesome. Is it a Barbie set or something custom? And so, as you can see, I say back, there's no forgiveness needed, friend. So I didn't want to have the vibe of shilling, but let me tell you, the new Nicole Houff Barbie photo art. And then, and the next few weeks, and here we are now talking about Tiki topics and more. And then further, there I was. Then within Reddit, so Dumpy, screen name Dumpy, who can't, what a bold screen name to go with. Dumpy,
I love it.
Exactly. And Dumpy puts in the link for your Etsy, which was a cool thing. It is a super cool diorama, and it's all good. All right, so now let me get that out of the way. And okay, so here wow. Well, I feel like I'm there in the best of ways. All right, take us through the pieces.
All right, so, and I should add that, when I'm photographing it, the doll was actually much further up. Can you still hear me okay?
Oh yeah, totally. Right. And I was just right there. There she is further up. And now let me get.
So I usually have her much further up, and then what I would do is there would be 2 lights, so that the Barbie was actually lit with one light, and then the rest of the scene is lit with a different light. So you can kind of see in the behind the scenes, and that's just because the visual layering, like when you're looking through the camera, you have to. Again, it's that smoke and mirrors. It's like, because it doesn't matter what it looks like when I set it up, that Barbie isn't even technically in the scene anymore. It's how does she look in the camera, and that's again like just the layering. But that being said, I was very purposeful on her outfit. I thought it was very tiki-esque, and then I wanted to show this is actually the original bar. So see, it's not that big and it weighs nothing,
Wow.
And then all of this is modular. So I can move it wherever I want, like the plant life, Ken's. The bar itself is actually not connected, so I can move that wherever I want. And then it even has the little fire treatment here, and it turns on.
Oh yeah, they're off on that.
Yep.
That is dynamite.
Isn't that cool? And then yeah, I mean it's substantial. It actually, it's a heavy piece. But again, having this open allowed me to light it without getting a bunch of shadow. So again, it's that trickery looking like it's a real space. Yeah, it's fun because it's all just, like this part is completely separate, so I can move that wherever.
And then but then it's got the actual the tap. That's got the tap attached to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And they look like they're beads, like crafter beads at the top. I broke one. I have to glue that back on, but that happens with the Barbie set. Sometimes there's some casualties.
All right, and then I'll put it while you're as you were mentioning. I'll just put in the middle. So here was your behind the scenes shot, and then I see we're stacking comments. I'll get to comments in just a quick second here, but so right there's. Mm-hmm. There's what people purchase, and then literally behind the scenes, the position of the camera, the foreground, the layering of the image, and getting the lighting just right to bring everything together. So super, super cool is this all. All right, comments. Oh, here, a commenter, first time comment on the channel, someone who I believe sat down with at the dinner table before. It's a beautiful thing. Kip, glad you're watching. You're about to get mentioned anyway, but so there was a point in time where at an actual tiki establishment, there's Nicole, there's Kip, there's me, there's my family, there's my wife, there's my son, and we sat down together in the tiki place. So Kip, welcome to the comment section. Glad to have you along. The diorama right there is amazing. Chris Hamby, top blogger of the Svengooliverse, just popping in for a quick hello. Chris, we appreciate it. Again, congratulations to you on the Silver Screens Reflection blog for now exceeding a cumulative 100,000 viewers on Silver Screen Reflections. One of the great, to me, the top two blogs of Svengoolie land are Hamby and Terror Dave. So it's great to have. Okay, Fanboy is saying hello back to Chris. Chris is saying hello back. No wonder why we're stacked in comments. Side conversation, cool side, see behind. Ken, yeah, Ken was maybe a little overserved. We'll send over a taxi or a lift for him or some such. Okay, so let's come back to this way. Okay, as Kip was leading us in the comments, so the couple stories then. So of actual tiki places, the place where we got caught up was Kahalakoa, also known as Lola's Pizza Palace, which was really cool. To after seeing the art and then making the conversation and then meeting up in person. What a nice journey this has been. But then there was also a time where let me come back to the pictures where recently there was a legendary establishment in the Twin Cities.
Yes.
Psycho Susie's.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know. I saw tell online that it was an undisclosed time and date that it might get closed. So my first and only time entering Psycho Susie's, of all the possible places, of all the many seats, of all the possible places to land, I was sat down at table 101 for the now closed establishment of Psycho Susie's, And lo and behold, and my wife says to me, "Did you plan this for us to sit here?" And I'm like, "No, this is just where they sat us. What are you talking about?" And she says, "Look at the wall." And there is this very image right there on the wall. So it was some kind of synchronicitous good fortune to land that way also. But I wanted to rep the Psycho as long as I'm showing the different t-shirts.
Oh,
There's the Psycho
yes.
t-shirt. And then says on the back, so for those of us that are not around the Twin Cities, says, "I like Northeast." Can you tell us, can you unravel that puzzle or decode the Northeast comment on the back of the shirt for us?
Well, as with all cities, Minneapolis has different neighborhoods, and Northeast is Northeast. It's a very, like, if you're not from the Twin Cities and you want to come in to Minneapolis, Northeast is sort of known for, we have a lot of art, we have a lot of the fun bars. A long time people knew that Psycho Susie's was there, and Northeast, that's just sort of how we pronounce it. And like
A regional accent.
exactly. And then like we have our Grainbelt Beer Brewery, which technically isn't brewed in the Twin Cities anymore, but still in Minnesota, and they have a beer called Northeast, and that is, of course, in reference to our neighborhood. And so, yeah, and Susie's was in like just such a great spot of Northeast, and it's still tragic. It is still sitting there empty. The sign says it's for lease, and so many of us just hold out hope that it's going to reopen, because if you've never been there, it was the greatest patio in the Twin Cities. It was right on the Mississippi. It was just a beautiful space. It was a big restaurant too. And, they really went all in with the tiki. And at the holidays, they would go Christmas from floor to ceiling. I mean, just like kind of this really kitschy, kind of garish. It was amazing. It really tied in so good. And they just had great, drinks, like fun tiki drinks. And they'd have, I can go on and on, because it's one of those really special places that I don't know anybody who didn't like going there. And it was one of those that if somebody was coming into town, it was a location that you'd feel comfortable. You'd be like, hey, let's just bring them to Susie's, because it's a cool, fun place. It's awesome for the Twin Cities. And I know it still exists. It hasn't been torn down, which of course is a lot of our fear, but I don't know. I hope somebody buys it and reopens it, but I haven't heard any rumors as of recently. So I have my fingers crossed.
It was truly magical. And again, I'm not saying I'm an expert on Svengoolie. I'm not an expert on horror movies. I'm not an expert on tiki bars, but I know what I know. And the time I was there, it was just magical.
Yes.
The heat was sweltering. It was physically uncomfortable, but through no fault of the establishment, but that led to the mystique or the ambiance, everything, the road, the open frame out to the river. Every spot will have its own personality, but this had an abundance of charm and personality.
Yes.
Cool. Hope, crossing fingers, it'll come back around.
You should open a tiki bar.
Don't you guys go planting seeds. I just might throw caution in the wind and put myself in using the term pickle earlier. So, so speaking now, let me make a clumsy transition there. Speaking of pickle and historical pickles, there was a time, as you, Nicole, did not yet know of Svengoolie in 1982. So as I'm forever curious and forever exploring this subject matter, in 1982 in the summer, there was the 3D creature of the Black Lagoon. It was the second of the creature pictures shown. The 3D effects didn't really manifest very well. So then, since you didn't have Sven or the 3D creature, this was just new in our conversation. But tell us about, did the 3D effects work? Was the gorilla at large? Was the gorilla not so large? How did all this work out in the Minneapolis and St. Paul area?
It was so funny because of course, watching your channel and just, getting into the Sven stuff, it's like, yeah, that 3D debacle is always brought up. And of course, at the time, we weren't privileged to get Svengoolie up in the Twin Cities yet. But it was funny because then I started thinking about it. I'm like, wait a minute, I remember I have like this vague memory of being a kid, and there was this huge, thing. They were really hyping it up. And in my memory, I thought it was actually the black and white King Kong movie. And actually, Kip also had the same sort of memory. But I was 7 at the time, and I remembered getting the 3D glasses and sitting down to watch this on our Channel 9, in the Twin Cities. And the 3D did not work. And that's all I could remember, is that it didn't look 3D. And it didn't go well, because that was the whole point. People ran out to Tom Thumb to get the glasses, and then there wasn't the proper effect. So equally problematic. And I just remember, it was very anticlimactic. And I got to ask my folks about it, because I know that they watched it too. I either watched it with my parents at our home in the basement, or I was over at my best friend's house, which was just down the street. And my memory, again, because I was 7, is just a little fuzzy on that. But what was great is, again, in my memory, I thought it was King Kong. And so I did, after you and I have been emailing back and forth, I decided to quick do some research, and lo and behold, no, it was completely a different movie. Which I've never seen again. So now I have to watch this movie.
So let me say, it's clearly my well-established mission or project here to Svenology, to be a student, to be a studier of Svengoolie. But now I think I need to branch a side mission here, a side chapter, is to every market, to every city, to every region, what happened for them in the summer of '82 with the 3D.
Right.
Creature, gorilla, or creature.
Right. I wonder if it was shown on the same weekend, even. Like, that would be interesting to find out, if it was a real national thing, where even though they were different movies, if it was the same weekend. Like, I didn't research it far enough to see that. And I am going to say that in the Twin Cities, we did, it probably was about a decade ago, maybe a little bit less. One of our micro cinemas did the 3D presentation of the first Creature from the Black Lagoon, and it came from outer space, I think. And with the black and white, with the traditional 3D glasses, but it was projected, and it actually did work for the most part. Although I find it to be disorienting. But so I did get to see the first Creature from the Black Lagoon in 3D in a theater.
A little bit more on creature, and then that's yours, Barbie Godzilla. That's yours. This over here is Jason Westlake. I don't anticipate Jason is watching, but at the same day where I was able to get Sven to put the signature on Barbie and the Creature is the same C2E2 convention where I found Jason Westlake. Jason, if you happen to be out there, open invitation for you to come on and talk about your stuff. But then when you were talking about the gorilla, then I also went and got the Aunt. I'm trying to get Aunt Lucia, who then, after he had the Spook Show pinup, the website should still be active. He had a variety of influences that he used, but then he made big with DC Comics thereafter. So if you brought over a gorilla, I thought I'd bring over a gorilla too.
Love it.
To keep the Gorilla Fest in the works. Okay, so let's shift over. Let me get to the share screen, and let me get share screen, and click it again. And so another spot besides featured on our humble channel here. Now let me bring back over so I can actually see. So PBS, your local PBS channel, they came over and they put you as one of 3 featured magazine stories, a TV magazine. Well, how cool is that to have PBS come knocking on your door?
Oh, it was it was unexpected and incredibly cool because, last summer was bonkers because we had, the Barbie movie. And even though I have nothing to do with the movie, I've been working on this series for 17 years. So locally, some folks knew me, and it just, they do these little featurettes, and, somebody kicked over my information and they're like, hey, can we come over and film you? And we'll add you into their postcards series, which is, again, these little sort of 10-minute vignettes. So they do 3 per episode. And I thought, what an honor. I completely unexpected. I was really excited. And I said, sure. And what's funny is for, of course, editing down to 10 minutes, they were at my house for probably 6 hours. Just to get all the content they wanted. And so, you get this new appreciation for video editing, because holy smokes, there's 2 videographers, and then the producer who also was sort of queuing up the questions and everything. And it was actually an incredibly fun, just delightful experience. They made it, I thought I was going to be more nervous than I was, but, they were just so easy to do, they were just, they were fun people, and we just had a nice day, and they made me feel like they're just old friends hanging out, but they just happened to be filming.
So they then, so cool that they would come in. Well, first thing, oh, you guys want to recognize me and do a feature? Great. Then the fact that they were cordial and pleasant and cool on top of it, even better. So that's so good that, but now, even somewhere out there's like a DVD extra worth of unpublished material that they have in their archive now. So how cool is that also? All right. So PBS again. So people feel free to Google around on your PBS and cue in to, if you're on the PBS site, you just put in Nicole's name and there you go. You're off to the races. Let me come out of this screen and then come back around to the actual Etsy. So share and share again and select Etsy. And here we go. So let me again come back to where I can see what's what. And now let me come back out of where I can see so I can navigate to some of your other photos. This one we showed briefly last time. We didn't spend a great deal of time on it. Alexandria, birthplace of America. This is an older piece of work of yours. Could you give what made you decide to go after this one, and how did you piece it together?
So most of my pictures where it's Barbie and Ken kind of out and about are just in either Minneapolis or like the larger Twin Cities. And I don't have tons of them, but they're generally more Minneapolis because that's where I live, but I spend 1 week a year where my whole family goes up to Alexandria. I mean, now technically we go to Miltona, but anyways, we go to Alexandria, and there's this big, the big Oli statue is up there, and I don't know, I just felt like I had to give him some love because I see him every year. He's right at the end of their main street, like right as you come in. And for me, he was just like the signal of like that 1 week a year I get to just, we completely disconnect from being down in the city. And as all Minnesotans, we strive to get up north. So to me, he's like that signal, or like a symbol of just getting up north to the lake. So, but for any of these, what I do is I don't bring the Barbie and Ken with me because I really want them to look people size and not doll size. And then plus setting up anything like that where you have just the public walking around is a whole other, kerfuffle. So what I do is I go and I get a picture of the background first. And then what I'll do is I'll print it on a really matte sort of non-reflective paper, and I'll create a backdrop in the studio of it, and then set up the dolls and design the lighting around it to mimic like if they were actually standing there. Because then I can really control the depth of field and the lighting, and again, that trickery to make it look like it's, like they're people size.
And it does look like they're people size. And again, it looks like they're on one of those glorious summer days where there's just enough breeze and just enough clouds in the sky. So the whole vibe, as you're speaking of this vibe, I don't know how successful I'm going to be at navigating on the Etsy. But your other most recent release was like a sitting by the lake kind of a feature.
Yes. It was I just, again, in Minnesota, we're always so fast. It's sort of a stereotype, I think, of Minnesotans that we're going up north and we're going to the lake. And there's a stereotype for a reason. Most of us, I swear, in the summer, that is a goal. And so I wanted to do, I hadn't done any ones where they're at the lake. And I went with just a really nondescript lake backdrop. And then I had found, again, the Atomic Doll, who did the tiki set for me. She does some 3D printing with plastics for some of the accessories, which is amazing. And she had made these little chairs that were so perfect, that reminded me of being up north at the lakes. And so when I got the little chairs for the lake scene, that's really what helped spur on the actual shoot.
And it looked both the Alexandria that we showed and the newer piece that I'm having trouble locating exactly. I should have done better homework as a host to load that into the photos directly, but it just again, through the variety of settings, it's just the common denominator in your work is what a fun spot or what a fun image to have.
Thank you. And I like playing with like the color and the patterns too. So it's not just the actual, image or story or narrative. I like making sure that there's that design element too, because a lot of times, that helps. You want people to enjoy it and have it up in their house, and so like you have to. I like thinking of all that, and I love playing with color too, because that can make or break it.
Because why not? Because it's fun.
Exactly.
Let's jump back to Sven. And again, I want our Sven people to feel that we covered the bases. So historically, back in the day before Sven went nationwide, Kerwin wasn't around yet, but Tombstone would frequently be utilized. Occasionally, Durwood would get dusted off out of his original Jerry G. Bishop Svengoolie use. But in your era of Sven fan, Tombstone will come around once in a while. Kerwin, obviously the top dog of prehistorical rubber chicken. Between Kerwin, between Zalman Tombstone, of the supporting characters, either the non-human ones, the puppety ones, or the live supporting characters, what has been fun for you? What has given you a kick? Which of the supporting cast has appealed to you?
Well, I love Kerwin because he's like the sassy counterbalance, and I like that he kind of argues with any other element, be it Sven or he's just such a good counterbalance of personality. So and like you said too, he's always been the main sidekick in the era of Sven that I've been watching. So I have a preference for him, and I like that he does the male segment, of course, because then it ties in with my personal experience, and then for the live sidekicks, I really love Nostalgia Ferratu. I think he is just delightfully funny, and I think him and Sven are so funny together. Like they feel so unrehearsed. It feels like a really natural back and forth, and so I've been getting a kick out of him too. So those are my two favorites.
Of course, Nostalgia Ferratu, played by Bill Leff, who was also on the morning cartoon show. And those of us local to Chicago can recall the time on the FM radio before the phases of Bill Leff's career, FM radio, AM radio, and TV. But the Wendy and Bill, as they would close their morning drive show, they do the little just recap segment, and they would play the Hawaiian music in the background. So don't be surprised if one day we see Nostalgia Ferratu come with some tiki kind of a shirt to the Sven show.
I could see that.
Now, one can hope. Now, coming back to Kerwin, obviously we know Kerwin is, as you said, a foil character and is in character. But I noticed Kerwin with his Kerwinian ways, put a specialized pronunciation to your last name. And I would say if he was trying to be accurate, I can't say he stuck the landing, but it was like, how hyper pronounced in character. What did you, you might have noticed that as it was happening?
I did. You know what? Because of how my last name is spelled, I was just shocked that they got close because it's just pronounced Huff, like if there was no O, but the O and the U always gets people. So I was like pleasantly surprised because honestly, I have heard it much different. And again, like when they're presenting like that, there's the comedic element to it. I mean, can you even imagine trying to come up, like they're quick trying to say people's names to be, which is part of it. They're thanking you, and I can't even imagine. Mine is probably like easier compared to many. So no, I believe me, I thought that was part of the charm to it.
Absolutely. The same way taking shots at Berwyn. There's no ill will meant against Berwyn,
Absolutely.
but it's ingrained in the
Mhm.
comedy. All right, let's go a little bit more share screen. And I see we're again, as we're just at the hour mark, and hey, we're covering a lot of territory. It would take multiple hours to cover all your inventory and break down every piece that you did. But let's come and look at the current MeTV Svengoolie screen here. So again, merchandise wise, right now they were saying that physically the largest object that they've set out is the inflatable coffin. Whoever is this person is Rick. Well, welcome, first time commenter. Hey, y'all, yourself, Rick Stroh. Glad to have you along. Cool that you're here. Merchandise wise, supplies, and let me say this. So also the new comic book just came out. I imagine you did not, since Wednesday, all of 2 days ago, I imagine you didn't run out to your local comic shop yet and pick up the new comic. Is it?
I haven't gotten it yet, but I did watch your review of it. So now I am going to. I just hadn't had time to go and get it, but I did. I did make sure to watch you too, and it got me extra excited.
Fanboy G is saying hello to Rick. So again, it's awesome to have a side conversation in the commentary, in the comment section. Now, where am I going here? I was going to scroll a little bit more through okay, so here we are, the double feature of the night: Son of Frankenstein, Monster That Challenged the World. Nicole, is there? Do you know how many times you have or have not seen Son of Frankenstein? Are you more familiar with one movie or the other? Just any kind of commentary you would have on the first of the double features of the Bonanza as it's kicking off tonight as we're here live. Any comments you have on the excitement of the Bonanza, any enjoyment of Son of Frankenstein, or maybe the less known Monster That Challenged the World? Any kind of reactions or thoughts or anything you're looking forward to in the overall Bonanza or in the specific films that are coming out?
Well, what I like overall is there's a nice variety, including like total new ones coming up. You have Labyrinth and Dark Crystal later in the month, and we have a Vincent Price coming up. I think what I like about this mashup is that they're just two really good, like they're classics, but it's not, like Son of Frankenstein, again, very classic, universal, but it's not the most known of them. I mean, I've seen it numerous times. I find it very enjoyable. I haven't sat down to watch it for a while, so I am really looking forward to it. And the Monster That Challenged the World, again, like kind of that great 50s, classic big monster from Atomic, you know what I mean, like that kind of thing. I think it starts off as two like just really classic genres, and I think a really good pairing. I'm excited for both of them.
I did mention the term Venn diagram earlier, and there is, I again would have been a better host had I a slide ready for that, but there's a certain Venn diagram that puts the atomic age and mid-century modern and tiki and radioactive influence on monsters. So again, the web is wide and
Yes.
well woven, and it's cool to jump in on all of that. As you're saying, as you're mentioning, Vincent Price, I would say I am currently in in chase of it. Now, oh, there goes Elvira. She'll be okay. But I had picked up the silver
Ooh,
screen Nosferatu, but
ooh.
I'm chasing down the silver screen Vincent Price. So that's again plenty of Vincent Price things to be excited about
Hmm.
at the current time. All right, let me
Absolutely.
stop sharing, and then let's uh let's do the thing. So again, we're making it clear people can look at your own website, which is just your name.com. And then if people are looking to buy your stuff or just appreciate it, but either one is cool. Etsy is a good spot to go. Do you have local appearances? You mentioned art fairs. The busy season for the art fairs is winding down. Do you
Hmm.
have a scheduled appearance coming up soon for an art fair?
So the big outdoor art fairs are done, which is that because I don't leave Minnesota much for those. So we're getting into the fall era, time of year. But I will be doing holiday stuff. One of my big ones is the big Dayton, the departments at Dayton's, which is for those of us that are from the Twin Cities or very familiar with the Dayton's department store, which doesn't actually exist anymore, but their big actual store is still around downtown, even though it's not. I mean, the building is, the store does not exist. So they bring in like 100 vendors, and we're there for 6 weeks, which is super cool. And it's just very cute and holiday, related. And then hopefully, although I haven't gotten the actual paperwork for it yet, I should be at one on our state fairgrounds in December, but I don't have the details yet. So I'll post it right on my website on that one. The Dayton's one is for sure. Well, that one opens November 14th and it goes for 6 weeks, and it should be a lot of fun. I know it's so sad to lose Dayton's in Marshallfield.
But again, the parallel process across the major cities, across time, and so
Mm-hmm.
locally here, Marshallfield was the
Mm-hmm.
major, and Carson Peary Scott, I guess, was their
Yes.
rival. Currently, whatever used to be a Marshallfield is now a Macy's store. Is there a Macy's logo over what used to be Dayton now also, or not, or
They actually, because it's a really iconic building downtown on our Nicollet Avenue. So they have refurbished it on the outside to have the original Dayton's logo on there again, which is fantastic. It's like the old vintage Dayton signage, even if it isn't a store. Now, some of the elevators still say Macy's on the inside. It hasn't been like fully, because again, it's not getting used as a store. But like, there's things moving in. Like, there's some little shops upstairs, and it's cute that it's still being used. And again, for those of us that grew up with Dayton's, they were known for these beautiful 8th floor auditorium displays with kind of these animatronics. You would walk through the story, and it was just so cool. Some of those bits still exist, and they are, I believe, making some of the storefronts downtown Minneapolis little vignettes with some of the parts that still exist. So, like, it's kind of nice that they've been doing these nods to that vintage, bit of Minneapolis history that's so iconic. So it is cool to have the big logo up downtown again. I think that brings us a lot of happiness.
absolutely. And then many similar the touchstones, the things you like, the local institutions or
Mhm.
things that provide fabric to the community to
Right.
still be around. I,
Hmm.
up in the closet long ago, Fanboy G got me a tie with the Marshall Fields brand, and the tie is maybe past its time but it has the Marshall Fields tag on it, so
Hmm.
I'm not making it go away.
Exactly.
So before we both go away, and we're less than an hour till the big broadcast, till Sven comes on. Maybe some people need to go eat dinner. Maybe some people need to check in with Mo, Larry, and Curly on the Stooges, or whatever else may come and go. So, Nicole, anything else that you have coming up on your horizon, or people can just find you on your on your page and on Etsy.
You know, it's what I like about this time of year is again, we have the holiday shows, and then I go into a lot of creation mode. So I am going to segue into making a lot of new work. And I know that I'm going to revisit the creature and Godzilla for some pieces. So that's what I have coming up, and I'm really excited. And the second those things get photographed and they're ready after the holidays, I'm going to get them on my website. And yeah, that's what I'm the most excited about, making some new photos.
I'm looking forward to it. I can't be the only one looking forward to it. And again, just my closing thoughts is not Nicole related business, but I do feel I want to in the horror community. Our pals local to Chicago at the Horror House had some pipe burst situation, and so they need to relocate. So as I said the other day here, there's a little bit of crisis and a little bit of opportunity. They're going to relocate to be across the. And Nicole, next time you come through town, Nicole, let me tell you, it is a well worth the stop because now it'll be kind of a one-stop shopping at the Brood, which is the coffee house featured in the Svengoolie documentary on
Oh,
which is right next door. It's the same store, but you cross through the doors through Bric-a-Brac Records, and so now the new location of the Horror House will be across the street from Bric-a-Brac and from the Brood. So that'll be a super cool arrangement. But however, right, October 20th, the current location, 2931 West Belmont. The lads will have to close up shop and relocate, but either to crypticcloset.com if you're not in the Chicago area, if there's something you want to pick up, or if you can contribute. Anybody who goes $20 or more will be added to the wall of fame in the new shop. Again, recently, they had Bozo the Clown right in there, and it's all good stuff out of the Horror House shop, guys. So I want to continue to put in the good word for my pals over there. A couple of comments to hit before we close out. Closing comments: Horror House. It will be a great new location, and again, it's a burden on the shoulders of the brothers of Vinny and Moses, but people face crisis and try to convert to opportunity. Again, Nicole, this has been, as is all of our conversations, great fun. Again, from the very beginning. Thanks for getting me in good with the wife by putting together good art, and again, it was cool to. Then last time you did pass through town, hang out with you and Kip at the Tiki spot. That was really good. Thanks to Fanboy G for commenting. Thanks to Rick Strofer. Thanks for Kip for commenting. And Michaela, as always, and Chris Hamby, as always. Thanks for everybody who commented. I'm going to close us out. It's a big month for Svengoolie. It's good things from Nicole coming on the horizon, and hopefully I'll continue to provide some kind of entertainment over here. Also, do check out the Fanboy Cantina channel. Gotta always put in the good word for my guy. Also, all right, I'm hitting the end stream. Thanks everybody, and we